On technical difficulties, everybody. I apologize. Technology is wonderful when it works. All right. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Just getting the go from Dave. Awesome. Welcome, everybody, to Question and Answer live for the Well-Crafted Story Workshop. I am your host, Dr. Danny Brassell. I have the privilege of working with Coach Jimmy Hayes Nelson. And what we do is we help individuals, entrepreneurs, and organizations leverage speaking on stages as a major client lead source and conversion model. So today I'm going to answer some of the questions that some of you have been sending me, and I apologize, we had some earlier technical difficulties, but we were able to get your questions. So I will start off with question number one. And this week we've been talking about overcoming audience resistance through storytelling, and your questions have been right on exactly what we need to be talking about. So the first question comes to us from Beth in Los Angeles. Beth, thank you for your question. You ask, how can storytelling address skepticism? Yeah, because a lot of audiences are going to be skeptical, especially if they don't know you. And this is what we're teaching you how to do, is introduce yourself to new audience. Well, the research demonstrates that storytelling effectively reduces audience resistance through several key mechanisms. And so I'll try not to be too technical, nerdy, but I really get excited about research. And so there's some things that, first of all, there's something called psychological distance reduction. And this is one of the things that stories do, is they allow a psychological safety net for audiences to process any ideas, these challenging ideas that you're confronting with them. Rather than having a direct confrontation, storytelling is easing them with a narrative. And when the listeners engage with the characters facing similar challenges in their stories, it lowers the defensive barriers that your audience will have. There's actually a really good book on this called The Storytelling Animal. I can't remember exactly who wrote it, Gottschall, I think. But he goes into this. It's fantastic. There's also a concept known as neural coupling. This is a big one. This is a writer downer. Neural coupling is when people listen to well-crafted narratives, their brains start to display the similar neural patterns to the storytellers. And so you're basically walking together through the story together. You're the guide. I love that Donald Miller with StoryBrand says that your responsibility as the speaker is to be the guide and make your audience into the hero. And this is going to definitely address skepticism in your talks. There's a thing known as transportation theory. When audiences become immersed in stories, they experienced reduced counter-arguing and increased acceptance of any of the story-consistent beliefs that you're sharing. And what's amazing is, even if those beliefs challenge their existing views, you've actually brought them into your world. It's kind of like when you're watching a movie, and I was just watching The Matrix the other day, and once the movie establishes the rules of its world, like people can stop motion and things like that, then you accept it and you move with those rules. Now, if you break those rules, there's a problem, but an effective, well-crafted story follows those rules. And then obviously the most important part of storytelling is the emotional engagement. Stories trigger all kinds of chemicals in your brain that will promote empathy and trust. And so hopefully that answered that question, Beth. And it was a good lead in, because I'm looking at my next question, also from Los Angeles, Terry. Thank you, Terry, for your question. You say, how can storytelling build trust? And so it's that emotional component we're talking about. You know, Jimmy and I take you through the 5 C's of storytelling, beginning with clarity. And then before you ever speak, you need to understand who is your audience and what is the problem that you solve. And then when you're crafting your presentation, you start by connecting with your audience. You figure out the key elements of the content that you want to teach. You have a call to action to address the Joe Fridays, what we call in your audience, the tactical learners in your audience. And then you have your Julia Roberts, which is your emotional ending, which is an uplifting close. Those are our 5 C's: clarity, connect, content, call to action, close. So I've always said that really one of the best books on this is Dare to Lead by Brene Brown. When you're really, the best way to build trust in your audience is what Brene talks about, exposing your vulnerabilities. I always say, and Jimmy says the same thing, don't talk about your successes, talk about your failures on stage, because not everybody in your audience has succeeded, but they've all failed. And the more you talk about your own vulnerabilities, they're going to feel an emotional connection with you, which is just golden. It's fantastic. It's going to definitely build increased trust in your audience. Again, it's those shared reference points, those mental models. You're taking a person, you're the guide, and you're walking them through this. It's going to help. Since you're the guide, they are building a trust with you. You're going to take me to where I need to go. And again, it mirrors the neurons in your brain. Basically, they start to mirror, so you all become one. And really, one of the things that I love that Jimmy and I love working with people on is in the content part of your presentation. What we really want to do is we want to embed that with testimonials. And you don't do a testimonial. I've seen a lot of presentations where just in the middle of their speech, they say, hey, here's what this famous athlete said. Well, I tried this program and I lost 50 pounds in 2 months. Well, it seems artificial. It's a little bit fake. There's an easy way to incorporate that into your talk. You can say something like, when this Super Bowl MVP attended our 2-day workshop on how to craft a wonderful, well-crafted story, he was able to increase his conversion in audiences from 15% to 68%. Now people in the audience, without ever pitching them, now they're thinking in their minds, they run 2-day workshops. It worked with that Super Bowl MVP. I wonder if it would work with me. I wonder how much it cost. I wonder where it is. I wonder if I have to qualify. And so what you're doing is you're preparing people in your audience, in their brains. By the time you make your call to action, they're so excited. They're like, oh, I was hoping he was going to make that offer because he talked about it in his talk. They don't even realize that you've embedded that within the context of your speech. So really great way to build trust. So thank you for that question, Terry. That was right on. You guys are all right on point today. And I kind of picked them based on this week's topic. I got one more question and I'll let you go because I know you get overloaded with my research. Jimmy's the good looking one. Here's one from Thomas in St. Louis. Meet me in St. Louis, Thomas. Thank you for your question. Thomas writes, how can storytelling convert hesitant audiences into engaged, loyal clients? All right. Bottom line. I love that, Thomas. That's great. Well, there's all kinds of psychological things that are happening when you're creating a well-crafted story. First of all, there's an identity transformation. By providing really well-crafted stories, it's allowing people to envision themselves in new roles and identities. It's basically, we call it future walking. We have a technique where we say, picture a day when everybody at your office is asking you how you are the top salesperson every single month. Picture a day when your spouse looks at you and says, honey, thank you for the life you've given us. Picture a day when you get to do what you want, when you want, with whoever you want. That's a picture a day. You're getting people to think into the future. So when they decide to work with you, this is what things are going to be like. You see it on like weight loss commercials all the time. They show people, I was 180 pounds overweight, and then I started drinking these ice cream shakes, and now I'm this fit guy that you see today. And so they're getting you to think, okay, if I take this, it's going to happen to me. It really, one of the things about stories, which is great, is it frames choices for your audience within relatable context. That way, again, so that's why we're really working with you on how to embed stories within your talk so that by the time you get to your offer, and again, your offer can be an unpaid offer, like sign up for my newsletter or book a call, or it can be a paid offer, like buy my product or invest in my coaching program. But a well-crafted speech, we've made sure to embed stories throughout that talk. So by the time you get to your call to action, your audience has already been anticipating it, hoping that you would actually give them that. It's very different than a salesy presentation. By serving your audience throughout, you're building that trust that we were talking about earlier. And again, one of the best things I like about stories is it lets you align your values with your audience. That's why I'm a big fan of Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why, is people want to feel like they're part of something. You know, you're going to see it holiday season. You're going to have lots of charities asking you for a donation. And what they're going to do is they're going to stress to you their values. Like, do you think there should be many homeless people starving on Thanksgiving? Do you think that all these kids in the children's hospital shouldn't be getting presents at Christmas? And so what they're doing is they're aligning values with you so that you start to feel like, oh, these people are just like me. That's the phrase, just like me. That's what you want to do with your audience. And there's all kinds of research-based conversion strategies for making sure that you have engaged clients. There's two types of speakers out there. There's the ones that build curiosity in their audience, which is great, but curiosity doesn't mean anything if you don't get people converting. You need people to commit. You know, are you gonna, like, it's one thing to be curious, it's another thing to write the check. So how do you get people to write the check? You need to make them feel like they're part of your tribe. And this is why when Jimmy and I are asking you the clarity questions, understanding who your audience is very important, because often we work with clients and they have a wonderful presentation, but they're delivering it to the wrong people. You know, if you're offering a $100,000 coaching program and your audience are elementary school teachers that make, you know, $30,000 a year, you have the wrong audience. You need to understand your audience and what are their needs, what are their beliefs. Create that avatar. It's very important. Actually, a friend of ours that we worked with, Scott Empringham, he does this better than anybody in creating avatars with using artificial intelligence. I'm hoping one of these weeks we really start talking about the artificial intelligence, because there's all kinds of great ways that we can use AI to help us create these well-crafted stories. And then again, what I love about stories is it gives you social proof without you having to brag about yourself. You can kind of just slip it in there. You know, I just kind of slipped it in there. We worked with Scott Empringham, and Scott, he went from giving all kinds of speeches that got standing ovations and nobody booked a call with him, to just a few minor tweaks. We call Coach Jimmy the chiropractor. He's really good at tweaks in a presentation. With just a few of these tweaks, he went from booking no calls to now I can't even get a hold of the guy. The guy's booked solid. He's just making money all over the place. And what's most important is he's really serving a lot more people. I mean, I want you all to understand that this is the ultimate goal for all of us, is how can we maximize the number of people we serve? And you can't serve anybody if you're not making any money. So hopefully that answers your question. Hopefully this has been very helpful for you. Please make sure on LinkedIn, go to the Well Crafted Story Workshops page, send in your questions. We're always looking for ways to help you, and they can be very specific. One of the things we're thinking about doing is bringing you on so you can deliver your talk and we can sit there and analyze exactly. A lot of people, they have really good talks, but I was working with a real estate agent, and I said, what are the three most important parts of real estate? Location, location, location. A lot of people have the right house, but it's in the wrong location. It's the same thing in a speech. You need the elements to fit in the right parts of your presentation. So remember, you too can be a wonderful speaker. It is a skill that can be trained. We have taught some of the shyest people on the planet, people that were terrified of going on stage, people that had no interest in going on stage. All they had interest in was building their client base, and we'll do that. So just remember, you are just a well-crafted story away from 7 figures. Thanks for joining me, everybody.